Here we have a problem statement. If you start reading it, it looks somewhat complicated. And if you have already observed the length of this video, it's almost of 30 minutes length, okay? So this is comparatively a bigger program, but most part of it we have already covered in other videos. Nothing complicated here. It's very simple, easy and straightforward. Just don't get stressed by looking at the length of this program. Learn the code and its logic step by step. Don't hurry up here, okay? Just learn the code step by step as I show you in this program, and it will be very easy for you. So let me read the problem statement for you. Write a function to compute the distance between 2 points, that is x1 y1 and x2 y2. We have already covered this, so please go through the video present at the link I am showing you on your computer screen. Please go through it before going through this video tutorial, okay? So link to which is also present in the description section of this YouTube video. The first link in the description section, go there and you will find this link too, okay? Let us continue reading the problem statement. So write a function to compute the distance between 2 points, okay? We already covered that. And use it to develop another function that will compute the area of the triangle, okay? So how is it even related, okay? So user might enter points, 3 points for the triangle, and we need to compute the distance between these points using the first function and then calculate the area. Simple, okay? So use it to develop another function that will compute the area of triangle whose vertices are x1 y1, x2 y2 and x3 y3. We have already covered it previously, so look at it. x1 y1 and we have x2 y2 and x3 y3. These are the 3 points which user will input. We need to find the distance between x1 y1 and x2 y2. We will call it A, and B and C. We calculate the distance of these 3 sides. Once we know the sides of this triangle, that is ABC, we can easily calculate the area using Heron's formula, okay? We have already covered that too. So link to which is present on your computer screen right now. Please go through that. It's like 2 or 3 minutes length video and it's very simple. It just has 2 formulas, I guess. If you know that, this tutorial will be very easy for you. So go through that, okay? So now coming back. So this is our triangle. Now write this down, okay? Let's read the problem statement again. Let's continue reading it. Use these functions to develop a function which returns a value 1 if the point x, y lies inside the triangle ABC. Otherwise returns a value of 0. Okay, so the user will enter another value x, y. It's a point somewhere inside the triangle or outside the triangle. We need to determine that using a function, okay? So user will give this value, that is x and y. So what's the logic for that? We need to calculate the distance from x1 y1 to xy. We call it d. And then x2 y2 to xy, we call it e. And then x3 y3 to x, y, and we will call it f. So we got 3 more triangles here. We will call it A, B and C. Look at this, x1 y1, x2 y2 and x, y. Okay. First we get the area of this entire triangle. We store that area inside of a variable called area. Remember, this is the area of this entire triangle with sides A, B and C. We store that area inside variable area. So we have 3 more triangles, that is A, B and C. So area of A can be calculated using its sides, that is A, D and E, and similarly to B and C. So if the areas of A, B and C, sum of areas of A, B and C is not equal to the entire area, then the point lies outside this triangle, okay? If by chance the area of this entire triangle is equal to the area of, that is area of A plus B plus C, then the point lies within, that is inside our main triangle. So that's the logic. Write this down on a piece of paper and let's get started with our C program. I'll take floating point variables, all the 3 points of the triangle, and then the point x comma y to check if it's present inside the triangle or outside the triangle, so xy. And I'll take a integer variable flag to set it to 1 if xy is present within the triangle, and we will set it to 0 if xy is present outside the triangle. Initially I'll assign it a value of 0. So I'll ask the user to enter value for x1 y1, the first point in the triangle, and store it inside the address of floating point variable x1 and y1. Similarly, I'll do the same for x2 y2 and x3 y3. So these are the 3 triangles. So we need to write a function to calculate the distance between x1 y1 and x2 y2 and x2 y2 to x3 y3 and x3 y3 to x1 y1. So before that, I'll ask the user to enter the point of which we need to calculate if it's present inside the triangle or outside the triangle. Okay, so I'll even ask that value from the user to enter right now and store it inside the address of floating point variables x, y. Now let me pass all these values to a function called calc. We need to define that function, so I'll call it by name calc, shorthand for calculation. So let me copy these floating point variables completely. So these are the user entered values. User will enter values for all these floating point variables, so I'll pass it to calc function. I'll also pass address of these 2 variables, that is address of flag comma address of area. Since we will be modifying the values present at address ampersand flag and ampersand area, the value will reflect across the program. Okay, so we will print the values of area inside main method itself, and we will not be printing the value of flag. We will be using the value of flag to check if this point xy is present inside this triangle or not. So let us use the value of flag, which is an integer variable. So if flag, which means if flag is equal to 1, printf, I'll print the point 0.2, better I'll take 0.1 itself, that is, which means 1 digit after the decimal point. Okay, the point lies, if flag is 1, the point lies within the triangle. If not, that is in the else part, let me copy this, else, that means if flag is 0, this point, that is x comma y, lies outside the triangle. So I guess that's it for main method. Let us check it one more time if we have committed any errors. So these are the points for triangle, and this is the point we need to check if it's within the triangle or outside the triangle. So we pass the address of variables flag and area to calc function. So we take the values of these 3 points of the triangle here, and we will also take the point xy from the user to check if it's present within the triangle or outside the triangle. We pass all the values plus the address of flag and address of area to the function calc, and we print the area here, and we check if flag is 1 or 0. If it's 1, the point is present within the triangle. If it's 0, the point is present outside the triangle. So let me define this calc function. Our function doesn't return anything, so its return type is void. So observe here, these variables x1, y1, x2, y2, x3, y3 and x and y are of type floating point data type. So we will have to copy those values to a floating point variables, or else we will mess up with the data. Okay, so last two arguments are of type integer and float. So int flag, since we are passing address of flag and area, we will be taking pointer variable here. Okay, so star flag will have value present at address ampersand flag. Okay, so we take three variables, floating point variables a, b and c, and calculate the distance between the points x1, y1 and x2, y2. We call it the distance, we call it as a. So we need to pass these 2 points to function distance, that is x1, y1 and x2, y2. And then the next distance, let me copy this once again. I'll call it b and c because a triangle has 3 sides. Now calculate the distance between x2 and x2, y2 and x3, y3. x2, y2 and x3, y3, and store it inside b. Now calculate the distance between x3, y3 and x1, y1, and let us call it as c. So that's how we get the distance between these points. So let us calculate area of this circle. It's very easy to calculate the area of a triangle. Sorry, it's not a circle, it's a triangle. So it's very easy to calculate the area of a triangle when we know the values of all 3 sides. Let's use Heron's formula inside calc_area method. So let us first define this distance method. So let me copy the code so that I can define it. I'll define it here itself. So its return type is float because a is float here. Here a is floating point value. All these 3 things, that is a, b, c, are floating point values. So I'll take return type as float for this distance function. Okay, so remember x1, y1, x2, y2 are local variables to function distance. It has nothing to do with the local variables of calc or main. Okay, so I'll return the distance between these 2 points, that is x1, y1 and x2, y2, the local variables of function distance. We have a formula for that. Square root of, I'll take power built-in method, that is POW, which is present inside math.h library file. So plus x2 minus x1 whole square plus y2 minus y1 whole square. That would give the distance between x1, y1 and x2, y2. Very simple, right? It's very simple. We have already shown this in a separate video tutorial, so it's very simple. Don't overcomplicate it. This is the simple formula to calculate distance between 2 points. So whenever you pass 2 points, it returns distance between those 2 points. Now let me define calc_area. So we already have values for all the 3 sides of the triangle, so it's very easy to get, that is to calculate the area of that triangle. So we are returning floating point value because star area, which is a pointer variable, is of type float. So ABC is also of type float, so I'll take float A, float B. These are local variables, by the way, for calc_area. You can name them anything. I'm just retaining those variable names just to avoid confusion. So to calculate the area, we use Heron's formula. Once again, a simple formula, square root of S, which is semi-perimeter. I'll show how to calculate that shortly. So S into S minus A into, we need to explicitly mention the multiplication symbol here, S minus B multiply S minus C. That's it. This is called Heron's formula. Very simple formula to calculate the area of a triangle when we know the value of all three sides of that triangle. So let us calculate semi-perimeter, that is S. Semi-perimeter of a triangle is equal to sum of all the three sides of the triangle divided by 2. We need to divide it by 2.0, that is 2.0, or else it will, if you divide it by 2, it will only return the integer part. Okay, so to avoid such thing, let's divide it by 2.0. So that's it for calc_area method. Simple, right? Very simple. Even though the length of this program is getting bigger and bigger, the logic is very simple and straightforward. So now we need to calculate if this point entered by the user, that is present inside x comma y, is present inside the triangle represented by the sides ABC or not. Okay, for that we need to calculate the distance between x1 y1 and x comma y, and we need to store it inside def variable. So d is equal to, let me use the same function obviously. So we need to calculate the distance between x1 y1 and x comma y, these 2 points, and store it inside the variable d. So next, let's calculate the distance between points x2 y2 and x comma y. Let me call it e. And then the last line, that is, let's calculate the distance between x3 comma y3 and x comma y and store it inside variable f. Okay, very simple. We are just reusing the already defined function, that is distance. Now we have all the sides of this triangle. So also observe this, we got 3 more triangles inside the outer triangle, right? So we need to calculate the areas of these 3 triangles. We'll call those areas as A, B and C. Again, guess what? We already have that method written, that is calc_area. We just need to pass the sides of that triangle. Sides for this triangle is D, A and E. Let us pass it D, A and E. So we have area of that triangle and we store it inside the floating point variable capital A. So let's calculate the area of this triangle. We will pass the sides of it, that is value of is E, comma B, comma F. That gives the area for this triangle B. So the next triangle, that is C, pass the values, that is the sides of that triangle, which is F, comma C, comma D. So we have the area of that triangle C. So we already got the areas for A, B and C. Now, so using this calc_area, we are just reusing it, okay, everywhere. So using these values, that is star area and A, B and C, that is capital A, B and C, using these 4 values, we will check if the user entered value, that is point x comma y, is present inside the triangle or outside the triangle. So to check that, I'll write a function called position. Okay, I'll check the position. If the point is present inside the triangle, I'll return 1 from position and store it inside star flag. If it's present outside the triangle, then we will return 0 and store it inside star flag variable. So let me define this function position. So observe here, our star flag pointer variable has a integer data type, so our position should return integer type data. That is, it should return 1 or 0, so it's integer, by the way. So also very important thing to observe here, star area is a pointer variable. Okay, we are storing area of the triangle inside star area. Let me write the data type here first and then I'll continue. So come back here. Star area means value present at the address area. So it's a value similar to value of capital A, B and C. Don't take it as address or another pointer variable. It will mess up the result. Okay, this returns the area of the triangle, which will be stored inside address of a variable, value present at the address of a variable. Okay, so just take another variable here, float area. You can take any variable name here. I'm just taking the same variable names to avoid confusion. So that area value should be equal to sum of all these triangles, that is A plus B plus C. If that is equal, then the point lies within the triangle. If not, the point lies outside the triangle. Okay, so we have a mistake here. We need to have double equals, that is comparison operator. Okay, but what happens is, since we are using all floating point variables, we will have slight mismatch, that is some 0.001 value plus 0.001 or minus 0.001 difference between these values. So we can ignore that. By the way, if we have taken integer and we took integer data from the user, then the result will be perfect, that is the area is equal to sum of A plus B plus C. So avoid that. To overcome that, we will use a trick, that is we will subtract areas of A, B and C from the main triangle, which is present, area of main triangle which is present inside variable area. Okay, so area minus inside the bracket A plus B plus C. So if the difference is less than 0.001, then still return 1. Okay, but sometimes the difference is in the negative side. To overcome that bug, I'll call it a bug in our program, to overcome that, so we'll come up with some logic. So before that, let me write this math.h library. I'll usually miss it, so I just encountered that sqrt method there, so I wrote that math.h function. Let me even finish writing the prototype of all these functions, or else it will also start throwing errors if we call any of these methods before defining it, before letting our program know that we have a definition for that function. So it's better to have prototype that avoids all such errors. So I won't remove all the variable names here because there are many variable names. I'll just leave it as it is. I'll cut the function definition, and as per my preference, I'll paste it below the main function. I won't remove all these variable names. Let it be, it's valid too. Oops, we have some errors here inside main method itself. So we have forgot to mention address of y1, address of y2, and address of y3. That's how we do mistake when we copy paste the code. So I copied the first printf and scanf to get the entry for x2 y2 and x3 y3. Okay, so let me come back to our position function. We were here, I guess, right? So simple fix for that is we can't even use, you may be thinking simply use abs method, but wait, abs only acts on integers. Here we have all floating point variables, that is area is floating point variable, a, b and c all are floating point variables. So if you use abs, it will just return the integer part of the result. So we better avoid it. It still gives right result because that's all we need, the integer part, but let me avoid using that. So let me copy this. I'll take another local variable, floating point variable by name res, and store the result of this, that is area minus a minus b and minus c. So if this result is less than 0, that means if it's negative, I'll simply multiply it by minus 1. That gives us a positive value. So with that, I'll be using only these two conditions. Okay, if res is equal to 0, that means we have the point within the triangle, or else another condition, if results difference is a very little, that is 0.001, then still consider that point as residing within the triangle. If the difference is more, then the point lies outside the triangle. So let's check with our output. I have plotted these points on a graph and checked everything, so these values and this program works properly. So I'll give 0 0, 10 comma 0, 10 comma 20, and I'll check for 10 comma 20.1 just outside the triangle. So it should tell us that the point lies outside the triangle and it's working. So let me give another output, 20 comma 0, 10 comma 30, and let's check for 10 comma 15, which lies within the triangle. So I have checked for many outputs, and I've already plotted those on a graph sheet and checked the output of our program, and it matches perfectly. So I guess our program is right. If you find any error, just what you need to do is give some inputs, valid inputs. Okay, give some valid inputs and check the output, plot it on a graph or use some online tools and check the result of our program and with your manual result. If it's equal, then our program is working great. If not, let me know that in the comment section present on our blog, link to which is present in the description section of this YouTube video. So please visit the link present in the description section of this YouTube video for source code, notes and discussion about this topic. Comment there in the comment section of our blog and stay subscribed to our YouTube channel and blog. And please don't forget to share this video with your friends using your WhatsApp, Telegram, WeChat or Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, etc. And please do not forget to like this video on YouTube. Thank you.